I still remember the sound that didn't sound real. Explosions in Afghanistan usually came with a certain rhythm, a whoomp you felt in your ribs, a shockwave that slapped the dust into the air, the familiar echo rolling through the valley like a drumbeat. But this one tore the morning open. My name is Staff Sergeant Daniel Cole, U.S. Army, 82nd Airborne Division, and on that morning, in the outskirts of Ghazni Province, everything changed in less than 3 seconds. We were on a route clearance mission, moving through a narrow dirt road carved between mud brick homes and stretches of farmland. The sun was barely up, the sky that pale grey-blue that makes every shadow look suspicious. Our unit had done this route 3 times earlier in the month without incident. That should have been our first warning. Patterns here were traps. My team rode in 2 MRAPs, heavy enough to survive most blasts, tall enough to intimidate anyone thinking of taking a shot. I was in the lead vehicle. Behind us, in the second MRAP, was my best friend, Corporal Mickey Ramirez, 24 years old, sharp as a razor, the kind of soldier who caught every detail and joked about everything else. Even at 6 in the morning, he was humming some old rock song under his breath. We'd been through 2 deployments together. I trusted him with my life, and that day, he would trust me with his. The village seemed quiet, too quiet. Usually, a couple of kids ran alongside the road, waving, asking for candy or bottled water. That morning, nothing. Doors shut, curtains drawn. A stray dog trotted across the road and vanished behind a broken wall. "Feels off," my gunner muttered from the turret above me. "Yeah," I replied. "Keep eyes up." Our interpreter, Bashir, leaned forward between the seats. People don't stay inside unless someone told them to. His voice was nervous. Bashir was rarely nervous. I keyed my radio. "Ramirez, you seeing this? Feels wrong." His voice came back light-hearted, like always. "Roger, maybe everybody's still asleep. Unlike you, some people don't drink enough coffee to function at dawn." The banter steadied me for a moment. Then the ground disappeared. A flash tore through the left side of the road, pure white at the center, orange around the edges, followed by a cracking roar that turned the world into debris, fire, and dust. Our MRAP rocked violently, metal screaming as it absorbed the blast. The windshield went white, then black, then nothing but a haze of smoke swirling in the cabin. My ears rang like someone had shoved needles in them. My jaw felt like it had been punched by a heavyweight. For a moment, I couldn't tell which way was up. I heard shouting, but it was muffled, distant, like it came from underwater. I blinked until shapes reappeared. My driver, Harris, was slumped forward but breathing. My gunner was yelling something from above, waving smoke away. Bashir was pressed against the seat, eyes wide but alive. Then the radio crackled. Not with a call sign, not with a status check, not with panic. It was a whisper. "Don't come for me." I froze. It was Mickey. "Cole, stay back. I'm pinned. Don't come. Don't come for me." His voice was strained, shallow, shaking. I grabbed the hand mic. "Ramirez, sit rep. What's your condition?" "Only static." I wiped the soot from my window and looked back. The second MRAP wasn't there. Not fully. The blast had swallowed it. What remained was a burning carcass of metal lying sideways in a crater big enough to swallow a pickup. Flames licked around the edges. Black smoke spiraled upward into the washed-out morning sky. And somewhere inside that twisted steel coffin was Mickey. I tried again. "Ramirez, talk to me. Where are you pinned?" The radio hissed, then, "Cole, listen to me." A choking sound. "Now swallow. If you come down this road and there's a second one, a second IED," my gut turned to ice. I knew exactly what this meant. We'd seen this tactic before, a daisy chain setup. First bomb hits the convoy, the second targets the rescue attempt, and the third, sometimes there was a third, was meant to kill anyone who tried to evacuate survivors. "Stay put," I said sharply. "We're coming to get you. Just keep talking." "No," he gasped. "You don't understand. They want you to come. They're waiting." His breathing hitched like he was fighting pain that didn't stop. I checked my map. We had maybe 20 yards of road left untouched between us and the crater. Plenty of space to hide another pressure plate or a remote trigger. If I sent a rescue team in blind, I could lose everyone. "Cole," Mickey said, voice barely audible. "Tell my mom I'm—" "Shut up," I snapped because I couldn't let him finish. "You're not dying in there. Stay awake." A long pause, then softer. "Please don't come for me." That broke something inside me. My best friend, my brother in everything but blood, begging me not to save him. Begging because he believed his death might be the only way to keep us alive. I pushed open my door. Harris grabbed my arm. "Sarge, there's probably another device. You step out, you're dead. Then I'll be careful. Sarge!" But I was already out, boots hitting the dirt. Heat from the burning MRAP washed over me. The smell of burning rubber and diesel coated the air. Dust still floated like snow in a silent winter storm. I raised my radio again. "Mickey, keep talking so I can find you." No answer. "Mickey!" Nothing but fire crackling in the distance. The silence was worse than the explosion. I paced forward slowly, scanning every inch of ground. One wrong step and we'd vanish in a second blast. The weight of the vest, the rifle, the helmet, all of it felt impossibly heavy. Sweat ran down my spine despite the cold morning air. Our medic shouted from behind, "Sarge, we need EOD." He was right. We needed the explosive ordnance disposal team, but they were 30 minutes out. Mickey didn't have 30 minutes. I moved another step. A soft beep came over the radio, then a fractured whisper. "I'm still here." I exhaled a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. "Good. Keep talking. I'm closing in." But even as I said it, I saw movement in the alley to my right. Just a flicker, but enough to tell me we weren't alone. Enough to tell me the rest of the trap was already unfolding, and I wasn't sure I could stop it. I raised my rifle toward the alley, finger indexing the trigger guard. Breath held just enough to steady the sight picture. The smoke from the burning MRAP drifted between me and the gap in the wall, blurring the shapes, making everything look like it was moving even when it wasn't. "Cole," my gunner called from the turret behind me. "I've got movement on the rooftops. 2, maybe 3 silhouettes." Of course there were. IEDs never came alone. They were bait, and now the wolves were showing themselves. I thumbed my radio. "All teams, eyes up. We've got potential spotters in the village. Do not fire unless they show weapons." My voice sounded calmer than I felt. I stepped forward another foot, sweeping my gaze across the dirt road. Something in Mickey's voice kept replaying in my head, raw, terrified, resigned. I'd heard men scream after explosions before. I'd heard moans, cries, furious cursing, but never that tone. Never someone begging his teammates to stay away. The air seemed to thicken as I inched closer to the crater. The smell of burning wires and scorched earth filled my nose. The heat radiating from the twisted wreckage forced me to raise an arm to shield my face. "Mickey," I said into the mic, forcing my voice low and steady. "I need you to talk to me. What's your status?" Silence. Then a breath, ragged and shallow. "Cole, I can't move my legs." My heart pounded harder. "Okay, that's okay. Don't focus on that. Just stay awake." "I'm trying," he murmured. "It's dark in here, and hot." His words slurred on the last syllable. "We're almost there," I lied. "Just keep talking." Behind me, Bashir stepped out of the MRAP, waving frantically. "Sarge!" he shouted in English. "You need to see this!" "What is it?" He pointed to a narrow wall of mud brick bordering the roadside. A thin copper wire snaked along its base, barely visible beneath the dust. It disappeared toward a pile of rubble near the crater. A trigger line, remotely detonated, meaning someone was watching us. Meaning someone was waiting. "Don't come for me," Mickey had said. He wasn't warning us because he was afraid for himself. He was warning us because he knew exactly what this was. A kill zone. My throat tightened. I scanned the alley again. Nothing. I shifted left. Nothing. But the rooftops. The rooftops held shadows that didn't fit right. My radio crackled with the gunner again. "Sarge, top left on the tan building. Movement. Looks like he's holding something. Can you confirm weapon?" "No." He keeps ducking. I hated this. Every step forward felt like it tightened the invisible noose around us. "EOD is 22 minutes out," our medic called. 22 minutes might as well have been a lifetime. I took another cautious step, eyes locked on the ground for signs of a secondary plate, wire, or scrap of disturbed earth. My palms were slick inside my gloves. Every instinct screamed at me to run back to the truck, to wait for the specialists, to avoid the trap. But Mickey was alive. As long as he was alive, none of that mattered. I keyed the mic again. "Mickey, can you hear me?" A faint cough, then, Yeah, I hear you. You're doing good. Stay with me. What's your position? Are you upright? On your side?" A pause. "Upside down," he whispered. We rolled. I'm hanging by my harness, but I think the roof crushed in on the others. I can't hear them." His breathing hitched. I felt a heaviness settle on my chest. I wanted to tell him they were probably just unconscious, that everything was going to be fine, but I'd seen the wreckage. I knew the truth he didn't want to say. I swallowed hard. Do you see any light? Any opening I can get through? Just fire, he said weakly. It's getting hotter. Behind me, my gunner's voice sharpened. Sarge, roof weapon looks like an RPK. Before I could respond, a burst of automatic fire ripped across the street, bullets snapping through smoke and slamming into the dirt near my boots. I dove behind the half-collapsed wall to my right, heart thundering. Contact northeast rooftop, I yelled into the radio. Suppressing! My gunner unleashed a barrage of 50 cal fire from the turret, the deafening thuds shaking the ground. Dust exploded from the rooftop as chunks of stone blasted into the air. The village erupted. A door flew open down the street, and 2 figures sprinted across the alley. Someone shouted in Pashto from behind a wall. Another burst of automatic gunfire rattled from the far side of the road. The trap had sprung fully now, and I was stuck between saving my best friend and surviving long enough to reach him. Cole, Mickey whispered in my ear, barely audible over the firefight. You need to get out of here. Not happening, I snapped. I'm coming. Another burst of gunfire chipped away the wall beside me. Bashir slid into cover next to me, chest heaving. They're trying to circle behind us. We need to fall back to the MRAP. I shook my head. I'm not leaving him. Sarge, you die out here. Nobody helps him. He wasn't wrong. But logic didn't matter. Loyalty did. I leaned out, caught sight of one of the shooters trying to relocate across a rooftop, and fired 3 quick bursts. The figure dropped behind cover. Ramirez, I said, forcing my voice steady. Listen to me. We have contact. I need you to stay calm. We're going to get to you. No, you won't, he whispered. They're everywhere. I can hear them moving around the wreck. I think they're waiting for you. His voice trembled, then cracked. I don't want you to die because of me. The weight of those words hit me harder than the explosion. I pressed my back against the wall, fighting the sting in my eyes, forcing my mind to focus. 20 yards. That's all that separated us. 20 yards of dirt and debris and death. Cole, my gunner yelled. We've got 3 flanking left. This is getting bad. As if things weren't bad already. I looked at the burning MRAP again, flames crawling across the hull, smoke blackening the sky. I listened to Mickey's faint breaths, each sounding weaker than the last, and something inside me shifted. Fear didn't vanish. It hardened into resolve. I raised my radio. All teams, prepare to push forward on my mark. What? Harris yelled. Sarge, that's suicide. No, I said, stepping from cover. That's a rescue. I took a breath, feeling the heat of the blaze, hearing the crackle of fire and the pop of ammunition cooking off inside the MRAP. I stepped forward again, 1 step closer to Mickey, 1 step closer to whatever waited for me in that crater. Behind me, the firefight raged. Ahead of me, the burning wreck groaned. And over the radio, my best friend whispered, Please, don't come. I walked anyway. I moved forward through the open road like a man walking across thin ice, every step measured, every shift in the dirt a threat. Gunfire cracked behind me as my team laid down suppressive fire, trying to pin the insurgents long enough to give me a chance. But even with all that noise, the only sound that truly filled my head was Mickey's fading breath through the radio. Still with me, buddy? I whispered. A faint exhale answered. Trying. Hurts to breathe. You're doing good. I'm almost there. Stay awake. My boots sank a little into the churned soil near the crater's edge. Heat pulsed against my face from the burning MRAP, like standing too close to an open oven. The metal groaned as it warped, and small ammunition rounds inside the wreckage popped one by one, tiny detonations reminding me time was running out. Sarge! Harris shouted behind me. We can't hold them much longer. I didn't look back. I couldn't. If I saw the fight, I'd hesitate, and hesitation meant death for Mickey. Bashir's voice crackled over the radio. They're trying to flank right. They know you're exposed. Of course they did. Saving a soldier meant stepping into predictable positions. Predictable positions meant ideal targets, but predictable didn't mean avoidable. Cole, Mickey rasped suddenly. Don't come any closer. The fire's spreading. I can smell fuel. I swallowed hard. How close is it to you? Another shallow breath. Too close. My chest tightened. If the fire reached the main fuel cell, the whole MRAP would erupt. And Mickey, if he was pinned upside down hanging, he'd stand no chance. I scanned the ground again. There, beneath the dust, was a faint depression, too perfect to be natural. I stepped around it carefully, heart pounding, sweat dripping down my temples despite the cold. The echo of gunfire reverberated through the village. Rooftop shooters traded rounds with my team's turret. Somewhere off to my right, a single-shot rifle cracked. Rounds snapped past my shoulder, kicking dirt beside my feet. Still, I didn't stop. I reached the crater's lip and finally saw inside what remained of the MRAP. The vehicle had folded in on itself, crushed like a soda can. Flames crawled across the underbelly, licking toward the cabin. The left side was entirely gone, blown apart by the blast. The right side was twisted and half buried in rubble. Smoke billowed out through shattered windows and seams in the hull, and somewhere inside that wreck, Mickey hung upside down. "Mickey!" I shouted, leaning forward. "Talk to me. Can you see me from where you are?" A cough crackled over the radio. I see light. Is that you?" "Yes, I'm here. I need you to stay conscious, okay?" "Trying." His voice sounded so small. I dropped to my stomach and inched closer, scanning for the safest possible entry point. The back hatch was completely crushed. The side door was wedged beneath debris. The only gap wide enough for entry was near the front passenger side, where the explosion had torn open part of the frame. It was barely big enough for me to squeeze through, and it was on fire. I took a breath, letting the heat fill my lungs, grounding myself in the moment. Behind me, the firefight intensified. My gunner yelled something I couldn't make out. Harris cursed loudly. Bashir shouted instructions in Pashto to warn civilians away. I blocked it all out. Right now, there was only me, the wreckage, and Mickey. I keyed the mic. "I'm going in." "Sarge, negative," Harris shouted instantly. "Wait for EOD. You go in there. You're dead if that fuel cell goes." "He doesn't have 20 minutes, I said. A long silence followed. Not an argument, not approval, just silence filled with fear. I slung my rifle across my back, pulled my gloves tight, and crawled toward the opening. The heat singed the hairs on my arms. Smoke poured from the gap, forcing me to squint. My eyes stung. My lungs burned with every breath. "Keep talking, Mickey," I called. "I'm coming in." There was a pause, then a trembling inhale. "Colt, don't do this. I don't leave my brothers." Inside, the cabin was an inferno. The ceiling, what little remained, was collapsed. Wires hung like vines from above. Flames danced across the floor where hydraulic fluid had leaked and ignited. The smell of burning fuel soaked into my skin instantly. The world inside the MRAP felt smaller, tighter, suffocating. Smoke clung to the air like a blanket. I pressed myself against the least damaged section of the wall, inching toward the faint sound of Mickey's breathing. "Talk to me," I said again, a cough catching my throat. "Where are you pinned?" "I'm near the front, upside down." I crawled forward, using my elbows to push through the twisted interior. My knee brushed a glowing patch of metal, and pain exploded up my leg. I hissed through clenched teeth, then kept moving. Eventually I saw a boot, hanging, then another, and then Mickey's face, red scraped, inverted, his helmet cracked, his eyes barely open, his harness dug into his waist, holding him suspended in the collapsed cabin. He looked like he'd been folded into the wreckage along with everything else. "Hey," I said softly, gripping his arm. "I've got you." His eyes fluttered open. "You idiot." I huffed a laugh. Yeah, I know." I scanned the harness. It was jammed in place, twisted behind a collapsed section of roof. If I cut it, he'd fall directly onto the burning metal beneath us. I had to stabilize him first. "Your legs okay?" I asked. "I can't feel them." That fear hit me again, sharp as a blade. Above us, the roof shifted with a metallic groan. The entire wreckage trembled. The fire intensified across the left side of the cabin. A stream of sparks showered downward. "Cole," Mickey whispered, weaker now. "You gotta get out. The fuel's gonna go. Not without you." I took out my rescue strap and anchored it to the one remaining support beam that wasn't burning. Then I looped it under Mickey's arms, securing him in place. Another muffled explosion from somewhere inside the MRAP shook the ground. Time was running out. "Mickey," I said, leaning close, "this is gonna hurt, but I need you awake." "I'm trying." I positioned myself beneath him, braced my back, and pulled down on the harness buckle. It didn't budge. I pulled harder. Still jammed. "Come on," I growled, yanking with everything I had. The buckle snapped free. Mickey fell onto the strap and I caught his weight against my chest. He screamed, short, raw, involuntary. I know," I whispered urgently, lowering him slowly onto the least damaged part of the cabin floor. He trembled. His breathing quickened. You're okay, we're getting out." I dragged him toward the exit, each inch slower than the last. Flames crawled closer. Heat scorched my exposed skin. The air tasted of ash and metal. Behind us, the wreck groaned again. "Mickey, stay awake," I pleaded. No answer. "Mickey!" His eyes flickered, then closed. No, stay with me." I shook him gently, desperate. His chest rose barely. He was still alive, but I wasn't sure the MRAP would be for another minute. I pulled him another foot, then another, and then the ground beneath us vibrated. A deep, ominous rumble, the kind that meant everything was about to go very, very wrong. The vibration under us deepened into a low, grinding roar, metal shifting, fire spreading, fuel boiling. Every instinct told me the MRAP was seconds away from becoming a fireball. I tightened my grip under Mickey's arms and dragged him toward the opening, my muscles screaming with each pull. "Come on, buddy," I muttered. "Not here, not like this." Outside, the firefight was reaching a fever pitch. My gunner unleashed a wall of 50 cal fire, each booming shot rattling dust loose from the wreckage around me. Harris shouted coordinates into the radio. Bashir yelled warnings, ducking behind cover as rounds cracked past him. The whole world had become one long chain of noise, smoke, and fear. I pulled Mickey another few inches. My arms burned. My lungs felt like they were lined with sandpaper from the smoke. Then a new sound cut through everything. A sharp ping, metal striking metal. A bullet had hit the wreck. Too close. Far too close. "Cole," Bashir's voice shouted over the radio. "They're moving toward the wreck. They're trying to reach you." Of course they were. Taking hostages was a favorite tactic. I clenched my teeth and hauled Mickey again. The fire was fully crawling across the cabin now, eating into what was left of the dashboard. Flames crackled against the twisted roof. Heat blasted against my face, forcing me to turn away momentarily. I reached the opening, narrow, jagged. One more pull. I shifted Mickey's weight and forced his shoulders through, scraping my knuckles raw against the metal. The moment he was halfway out, 2 rounds snapped past the gap. "Suppressing!" my gunner roared, unleashing another storm of 50 cal. I pushed Mickey the rest of the way out and scrambled through after him. The cool morning air hit my lungs like a shock. Dust swirled around us. Bullets kicked up dirt inches from my knees. "Mickey!" I shouted, slapping his cheek lightly. "Eyes open!" A groan escaped him. Good, he was still in there. I hooked my arms under his and dragged him away from the wreck as fast as I could without stepping into unknown territory. Every foot felt like a gamble. The ground was uneven, torn apart by the blast. I scanned desperately for wires, plates, anything. Behind us, the MRAP groaned again, metal bending inward, as if it were inhaling before a scream. "Nearly there," I whispered, though I didn't know if that was true. From behind the burned-out wall ahead, Harris suddenly appeared, waving me toward him. "Sarge, over here, we've cleared this section." Thank God. I dragged Mickey toward the safe path, half stumbling, half sprinting. My legs felt like concrete. My arms throbbed. Then, a deep, violent whump. I threw myself over Mickey as the fireball erupted behind us, heat slamming into my back like a blast furnace. A wave of dust rolled over us. The roar echoed through the village, shaking loose chunks of wall and sending a shockwave through the dirt beneath us. For a moment, everything went silent again. My ears rang, my vision blurred. Then Harris grabbed my shoulder. "Sarge, you okay?" I opened my eyes. Dust fell like ash around us. Mickey lay unconscious but breathing. His chest rose, shallow but steady. Relief washed through me so hard my knees buckled. "We need to get him behind the MRAP," the medic shouted, sprinting toward us. "Now!" Harris and I lifted Mickey carefully, his legs limp, his body heavy. Step by step, we carried him back toward the cover of our vehicle, while Bashir and the gunner kept the insurgents pinned down. As we passed behind the remaining MRAP, the medic dropped to his knees beside Mickey. "Pulse weak," he muttered, opening his med kit. "Possible spinal injury. Burns on the arms. Mild smoke inhalation. We need to evac him ASAP." I knelt beside them, chest still heaving. "Mickey," I whispered, gripping his hand. "You're out, you hear me? You're safe now." His eyelids twitched. He didn't wake up, but he squeezed my hand. Barely. That was enough. The firefight raged for another 2 minutes before air support arrived overhead, the thunderous roar of an A-10 sending the insurgents scattering. The aircraft didn't even need to fire. The sound alone was often enough. When the dust finally settled, the village was silent again. Eerily so. Our evac helicopter arrived 20 minutes later. We loaded Mickey onto a stretcher and secured him inside. As the rotors spun up, the medic leaned out and shouted, "He's stable enough for transport. We'll take it from here." I nodded, unable to speak. The helicopter lifted off, kicking up dust, then arced into the sky, carrying my best friend away. When it disappeared over the horizon, the adrenaline drained from me all at once. My legs gave out, and I sank into the dirt, head in my hands. Bashir sat beside me quietly. "You saved him," he said. "I almost didn't," I whispered. He shook his head. "But you did." I didn't answer. The truth was more complicated, because for every soldier you save, there are others you don't. 2 days later, I visited Mickey in the field hospital at Bagram. He lay in a white room that smelled like antiseptic instead of smoke. Machines beeped steadily beside him. His legs were wrapped and immobilized. Bandages covered his arms. Tear brace held his neck still, but he was alive. When he saw me in the doorway, a tired smile crept across his face. "You look like hell," he croaked. I let out a breath that was half a laugh, half a sob. "You should see the guy who pulled you out." "Idiot," he muttered, but his eyes softened. "You should have left me." I stepped closer. "Never." He stared at the ceiling, jaw tight. "I heard them moving around the wreck. Thought they were going to grab me the moment you got close." "I know. I didn't want you dying for me." I sat beside his bed. "Mickey, that's not how we operate, you know that." He was silent for a long moment. Then, with a shaky exhale, "I'm glad you didn't listen." I swallowed hard. "So am I." It took months for Mickey to recover. He never regained full feeling in his legs, but he walked again, with braces, then with a cane. Eventually, he was medically retired and moved back to North Carolina to be closer to his family. We talk every week. Sometimes he brings up that morning. Sometimes he doesn't. But there's one thing he told me that I'll never forget. Something he said during his rehab, after a grueling day of physical therapy. "I didn't beg you to stay away because I wanted to die," he said quietly. "I begged you because I couldn't handle the thought of you dying trying to save me." I put a hand on his shoulder. "And that," I told him, "is exactly why I came. Because we don't leave each other behind. Not ever. Not on the battlefield, not in life, and no explosion, no trap, no fear will ever change that."